All right, cool. We're live. A couple minutes early. We're going to give people time to tune in and for everything into ether to sync up and all of that. But we are live. Awesome.
Yeah. So today we're talking about mindset for anybody that's interested in that crazy thumbnail that I put on the live. It's from so I have a design background, and I discovered this artist when I was in art school. He's got these crazy images like this, and his name's Alex Gray, Grey, and he's just got these. His artwork is crazy, and this is one that just kind of reminds me of just like mindset and what we're going to be talking about today.
Love it, man. Awesome. I'm going to pull up the group here too so I can see on that side of things. This video is now live. Awesome. Awesome. Woo! We've got a couple of people on with us. That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Well, it is Monday.
It is Monday, but a lot of people may just be catching us on the replay here. That's totally good. 10:59. It's not quite time. We'll hang around just for another minute or two. Well, not a minute or two. We'll hang around till 11.
Yeah, we're going to be starting at 11 sharp. So,
awesome. Welcome for somebody else just joined. Welcome, guys.
Yep.
Sorry, Greg. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Just excited for you guys. They're able to show up live and stuff, but if you have to hop off for any reason, then of course this will be recorded and stuff. So,
yep. Well, it just turned to 11 o'clock, so let's get started, man. Exciting.
Cool. Boom.
Awesome. So, guys, those of you who are joining us live right now, go ahead and comment #live, and we're so pumped that you're able to be here with us on a Monday morning at 11 a.m. Austin, Texas time. And if you're catching this on the replay later, please go ahead, drop a comment, #replay in the comments as well. And yeah, guys, I don't know how else to say it. We're pumped to be doing this. This is going to be a fun week. It's going to be an amazing week. We are going to be sharing a lot of things with you that are not only exciting to us, but they've transformed our lives directly. We've been on this journey for the last 12 or 13 years. Greg and I used to talk when Greg would make his 10-hour drive to college a couple times a semester back and forth from our hometown. And it just has been such a long process for us. And we're just going to jump right in. We've got a lot to say. We're just going to say it. We're going to hit the ground running. But this stuff has just changed, transformed our lives, and it's super awesome. So we're going to start a little bit by talking about one of the most important things in this process, us. I'm kidding. But we do want to tell you a little bit about who we are and why that's important that you know who we are. And I'm just going to kind of follow my notes here because I will be all over the place with excitement and adrenaline right now. Some of you may be new. Others of you may just not have ever gotten to listen to the interviews that Greg and I have done together over the past couple of years. And some of you may just not know our story. We can't tell all of it, but the nutshell version is that we're just two guys from a small town in Mississippi, Starkville, Mississippi, home of Mississippi State University. It's the largest university in the state, but even that does not mean that it's a big town at all. It's a town of like barely 20,000 people with a university of around 20,000 people.
Yeah, to put that in context, when school's in session, the city, the population of the city doubles in size. So that's how small the town is.
Yep. And all of that is still only 40,000 people, and that's one of the largest things in Mississippi. So super rural area. Because of the university, we grew up in a culture that was completely built on and centered around the university. It was the lifeblood of our hometown. And so we grew up in this culture of make good grades, graduate high school, don't drop out, get into college, even if you have to go to community college first, make good grades, graduate college, get a degree, get a good job, play the long game, start at the bottom of the totem pole and work your way up. Eventually retire, and enjoy what's left of your life. You've earned it. Pat yourself on the back. And not hating, but you're old.
And kind of, this is a sad thing, like for the folks that, put in their 30 years at Mississippi State. So if you were just getting by and make ends meet or whatever on your salary there, when you retire, I think you, at best, you're retiring on about 85% of your earnings. So you actually have to find a way now at the end of your life to live off less than you ever made, which is horrible. That's a horrible thing to look forward to.
Hopefully you paid your house off and you were just a good followed by the book person. So now we're not here, guys, to talk down on degrees and careers, school in general, achievements and things that maybe you've done in your career. But we never had any luck at it. And the only jobs available in our little hometown were all connected to the university, and that just wasn't for us. So that's where we're at, guys, just letting you know. And the truth is, we never had any luck in the corporate world and jobs. And we also know that it's a thousands to one ratio of people who truly, truly succeed in a career, especially not in terms of like just great or good or great, but wealth building in particular. And that's what this journey is. The bullseye is building wealth. The bullseye is not getting by or doing okay or doing good or doing great, but it's building things that last a long time, that produce more money, and ultimately to a lifestyle of wealth. And so here's one of the most important things about us. Why is it important that we tell you just a little bit about who we are? Because we are not special. I can't stress enough how unspecial Greg and I are. And I say that in a very positive light, that there's nothing about us that removes opportunity for anyone else.
Yeah, that gave us some unique advantage. We didn't come from money, and we certainly didn't, even though we were doing things the way we were taught, following the path that a lot of people follow: go to college, get a degree, graduate, and whatever, make good grades. We've that never translated into a much money at all for us. $20,000, $30,000 a year, full-time job. We got the jobs. We got these full-time jobs. And it just didn't translate. It didn't pan out the way we were, I guess, hoping, for all that hard work and all that time and all that investment. Luckily, I guess I don't know how Tyler was able to accomplish it, but I guess the one thing I did have working against me that would have definitely slowed both of us down was when we both got out of college, luckily through kind of scholarships. And I think since Tyler's dad worked at the university, he got a cut. I don't believe either one of us graduated with any debt. So that helped a ton, but,
man,
again,
it still hasn't paid off much.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have, 6-figure salaries to show for all that education.
No, for sure. Greg and I, we grew up in lower middle class families, stability at the expense of both of our parents working full time outside of the home our entire lives, all the way to retirement. I think that all of both of our parents are all retired now.
Yeah, just a little insight into, I know how my parents did it. I went to a pretty expensive art college. I had a massive scholarship, but even with that, it was still expensive. And I had like the next scholarship down from a full ride. And it was so expensive that my grandparents chipped in, and I don't know what the actual amounts were because my parents kind of kept me in the dark about that, but my grandparents contributed a little bit. And then my parents took out remortgaged their house or whatever, took out some equity. So they made those sacrifices. And that's how I was able to afford that. So it was a lot of sacrifice and stuff just in order to, get out of that situation with no debt. But man, just a massive price to pay for very little, result,
return, result, ROI, whatever. Exactly. And we heard plenty of penny pinching conversations in our homes and finding savings and and why did you buy this? And we got to make ends meet this month. And just that we grew up around that, always around payday in the first of the month. It was just kind of walking on eggshells in our home many, many months. And that's just how it was. So let us know in the comments, guys, if this resonates with you at all. Just if you're kind of just nodding your head and kind of we're in the same scenario, just let us know. It's so awesome to hear from you guys. We're going to be asking to hear from you guys all throughout this, but just let us know. Just even if it's just a
Yeah, or like another little analogy is in the comments here is I think Tyler's parents are the same way, or his dad. My parents were the kind of people that would drive across the street, or maybe sometimes even across town. Mostly this was my dad, to save a penny on a gallon of gas, which if you do the math, our cars, we didn't drive huge cars, so they only took about 14 gallons. So it translates to like 14 cents, all that effort, all that time just to drive across town to save a dime. It's crazy when you think about it.
True too. We're not exaggerating. This is raw. This is real. We're not exaggerating or telling other people's stories and making them our own. This is our life. So we followed the path that we were taught. We lived in a bubble where there was one predominant way that things are supposed to go, and you either succeed by following that path, or anything short of that is not success. You dropped out at some point. You dropped out of high school, or you didn't make good grades. You dropped out of college and you meant to take a semester off and you never got back on that path. That was failure. That's it. So we follow the path we were taught. We're both college graduates. We probably haven't made as much back from our degrees as we spent getting them, which talk about a bad investment. I would trade my diploma right now for all the tuition monies back, and I would put every penny to work in my business and make dimes and quarters back for each penny.
Yeah.
That's another story, but it's real. # real life. So jobs weren't our thing, and we really didn't want one anyway. We always had, at some point just after high school and during college, we started to talk about, we just had this appetite, this urge, this desire, and this just kind of insatiable feeling that a job didn't satisfy, that path didn't satisfy, even though we didn't live in a area where there was private businesses and private industry. We just knew that it wasn't for us, that there was other paths that we just didn't know about. And I don't really know when that started and how that came to be. I just know that's how it was. And our conversations like 15 years ago were like, man, I know it doesn't have to be this. This isn't the only thing. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Let me take a peek at my notes.
Yeah, I don't think either one of us, again, we didn't know how to achieve what we, or maybe even necessarily what we wanted, but I think we both looked at our parents and said, I don't want that. I don't want that lifestyle for me. I mean, it worked. I'm so thankful that they put in the work and discipline so that we could both have a decent life growing up. But I didn't want that for myself. It seemed like that my parents sacrificed everything so that I could have a life. Like they didn't have a life so that I could have one. They worked like crazy, even outside of work, to support us, me and my brother, so that we could have some sort of life. But to do that, they gave up their entire life of their 20s and 30s and 40s and stuff so that I could have that. And I'm like, I kind of, maybe it's selfish of me, but I kind of want a life. I want to be living and present alone.
I want to be living while I'm alive.
Yeah,
Exactly. And so there was this emphasis on doing all that. And then the jobs were then to get a job in those departments on campus, on this college in our hometown. And so there we were. That's where Greg and I were. And I like something that Greg said the other day. He just said, if we had been successful at a job, we might not be here right now. I don't know if I would have ever done this. If I'd been able to go make $125K a year several years ago in my 20s, like people we know here in Austin are doing, or even better than that, I might have just been like, I can do this. But we had to do this, guys. We were in prison and we had to break the bars and get out of the cell that we felt trapped in that mindset, blueprint, path, environment, bubble, whatever you want to call it. That's where we were. That was our present situation, and it was not okay. And we had to do this. We had to figure out how to make money, not get a job and get paid, but just make money. And like I said, I don't remember quite where it began, but we just knew there was a difference between wealthy people and like all of our friends and their parents in our hometown and even our home state. And Greg made an interesting observation earlier that the private school in our town was pretty small, but that was where all the kids whose parents owned the businesses in town went. And
yeah, because it was obviously, we went to public school. I went there to private school a couple of years, but my parents had to put me back in public school just because like it was so expensive, and my parents were employed and stuff. But one thing I noticed that all of our friends in our grade that went to that school, most of their parents owned their own businesses. They were self-employed, and so that's an interesting observation, I think.
None of our friends were like that. So we just weren't exposed to it. But they had businesses, and to us, that meant they controlled their schedule, which was awesome. Oh, you don't just work 8 to 5. You control your schedule. You don't have a boss. You are the boss. That seemed like an amazing idea to us. Their lifestyle was different. Their parents could pop out anytime and handle X and Y because they just weren't on the clock at a job. That was pretty cool.
And we each had a parent that had a more flexible job, and for you it was your dad. So your mom was a teacher. That's an example of like, she's the least likely one to be able to get away. So you said whenever you had emergencies, you would have to call your dad because he worked at the university, and there's a little bit more flexibility there.
Yep. My mom was a high school math teacher, 90-minute periods, 4 periods a day. She wasn't going anywhere. So let me tell you this now. Let me tell you what we didn't know back then. We knew we only knew what we could see. Here's what we didn't know. We didn't know that their whole plan and their whole existence was different. They didn't just control their schedule. They owned their time. And we've got a great story about that tomorrow, talking about the importance of time. It's going to be awesome. They controlled their business. They aren't at the mercy of other people affecting their business. They were in charge of their business. They grew their business. They knew where their business stood. They weren't the unknowns at a job of just like, man, you could get fired at any minute because of revenue or anything. There's just so many variables. And as an employee, you have no say. Your only say is, yes, okay, well, I hear what you're saying, and I have to do what you're saying because you're the boss. So they own their time. They controlled their business. Their business was an asset. It produced cash, and it held value. Their business was worth something. Their retirement plan was either continuing to live on income from their business, which could run without them or with very little input from them, or they could sell the business. It wasn't 401ks, Roth IRAs, contributing a couple $100 a month, and the university matches that, and in 35 years, I'll be able to draw a decently livable salary from it. No, completely different. Their business is a tool for their wealth creation. And you can have more than one business. Multiple businesses means multiple points of leverage. As an individual, guys, you can only have one credit history, one credit report, one credit profile. You only have access to one arena of leverage. You can't create 2, 3, 4, and more of you. There's only you. You've got one social. You've got one body. There's only one you. But you can have as many businesses as you want. You can start one, you can buy one, you can join one, and each business is a separate entity, a separate EIN, a separate credit history, credit score, credit report, credit profile. You have access to multiple leverage points across all of those businesses. That is extremely, extremely powerful. I got ahead of myself and lost my notes. Yeah, access to tons of leverage. Here's a huge hack. Just talking about things we didn't know. Our accountant shared this story with us. There's a guy here in Austin that buys multi-million-dollar homes, and he Airbnbs them and uses them for short-term rentals, mostly, I believe. He puts every one of them in its own LLC, and So each one is its own separate entity, and the entity name is like the address LLC. So check this out. Each one of those is a revenue generating business, which means he can have like a credit card in that business, multiple access points of leverage. But check this out. When you want to sell a house, you have to go through closing costs. When you sell your home for $200,000 or $300,000, it's like $15,000, $20,000 in closing costs. All he's got to do to flip these homes is file a $50 form and switch the LLC to someone else's name. And the house and everything belongs to the LLC, even the leverage does. So somebody else just says, hey, I want to buy this house. I want the house. I want the credit that you've got against this house. I want the 15-year history of income production that this house has produced. $50 instead of a couple $100,000 in closing costs. Businesses open unbelievable opportunities for things that don't exist in the personal world. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, if this is just kind of tracking with you, if you're understanding what we're saying, just drop some kind of thumbs up or heart or anything. Just drop whatever you feel like. Drop whatever's on your mind. Just like, yes, that's amazing. I never thought about that.
Just give us one of those emoji things, one of your favorite emojis.
You could have 10 properties and 10 LLCs. You could live in one for a while. Then when you move over here, all you got to do is throw a renter in it. It's in an LLC if you want to flip one. That's powerful stuff. Businesses open doors in so many ways, and we're probably going to talk about all kinds of things all throughout this week. So there's a huge hack. So Greg, we talked about this actually just before the call, how as an employee, you get taxed at the highest point, and it comes out of your money before you ever get.
The government gets paid when you're an employee first, and then you get what's left over. When you own a business, it's the reverse of that. You get paid first, and you give the government what's left over
at the end of the quarters and stuff like that. And you have write-offs. So when you are self-employed and you have 30 or 40K, it goes further than if you're employed, you're just taxed and you have what's left. But if you're self-employed, you can write some things off along the way. Hey, I went out to eat, but we talked about business, and Greg and I had a little session. So I ate this meal, but I'm writing it off. So the tax is coming down even on that 30 or 40K.
You go to these workshops or whatever, vacations or masterminds, and it's technically, whatever bit. It's a vacation sort of it, but it's a business expense, and you can deduct that from your earnings.
When you're just an employee and you go to Disney World, you just got to pay for the gas there, pay for the stay and the food there, and pay for the drive home. If you drive to Disney World and pop into a conference for a couple of days and then hang out at Disney World for a few days, you can write off the mileage there, the mileage back, some of the stuff you did there when it was the conference day. You still have to eat, but now you're writing it off. I mean, business opens doors. Money goes further in a business because inevitably some of it is tax deductible, and you're going to pay less in taxes. Again, now we've talked about 2 of a million reasons why to have a business. You can do the same with an online business. Put your sites and your software and your lists and your assets in a company. You can just sell the company, file a $50 form to change the name of who owns it, cash out, boom, you're done. So much, guys. But imagine having access to hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars of leverage in multiple businesses. Would you worry as much about rent and your mortgage and going and getting sushi for lunch this week? No, you would not. And you could find a place to write that off too. It's a win, 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 win. There's a million wins along the way. So what we found out was that these people, they thought differently. Their whole life was structured differently. Their mindset's different. Their goals are different. Everything they're doing is completely different than it is when you have a job or you're building a career. Here's the thing. Anyone with a business would tell you to quit chasing a career or a job and build a business. It's just, so guys, if this is tracking with you, just show us some love in the comments. And I'm going to keep moving through. We're not taught this stuff in school. There is a million exclamation points after that phrase. Guys, you're not taught in elementary school and high school and college and master's degree and doctoral degree. We are not taught to start a business, to operate as a business. We're taught to be an employee, to just do what teacher says and get an A+, and that becomes do what boss says and get a pat on the back and get recognized at the company Christmas party for being an exemplary employee.
I want to mention this too. It's kind of, the more I learn about how society works and stuff, it kind of pisses me off, because if you think about it, we're not even taught how to be successful employees, because did you learn how to do your taxes or what date to file them on in your public school? No. Isn't that a very important thing to know for the citizens, the employed people of the country, to know when to file your taxes? I think so. They just set you up for failure from the beginning.
And I just want to say how overjoyed it makes me that I know what a freaking parabola is.
Yeah.
E equals MC squared. Great. How do I make money? I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a multi-millionaire. E equals MC squared doesn't make me a millionaire unless the M stands for million squared. I like that. Okay. When you are working for someone else, it's 1,000 times to 1 that you're going to make a livable wage and not a wealth building income. When you make good money at a job, it's up to you to live below your means and put that extra money to work in order to build wealth. You got to get rental properties or like just invest extra in the stock market with like your own broker and not just the 401k that your employer uses or whatever. Investment accounts and portfolios and funds, but you're looking at a return in like the 2-figure percent. I mean, on a mutual fund, anything over 15% return in a year is fantastic. 20%.
Dave not to hate on Dave Ramsey. He's helping a certain demographic of people. But like I remember, I went through his stuff when I was in high school, and he was talking about kind of almost braggingly about that you could get around 10% per return annually through certain mutual funds, when other people thought that you couldn't get that, and he was just bragging about, oh yeah, you totally can, like as if that's a lot of money or a big percentage. Like with what we do and a lot of other businesses, the percentage or the multiple is much more than that. That is crumbs. That's like, I guess if your money is super passive or whatever, and there's no fees involved with that compounding effect or whatever in your account, that's okay. But like, it's such a small amount, like compared to what we are able to multiply that money into actively. So,
when your IRA or your 401k is at $1 million or in your mutual fund, hey, a 20% gain is $200,000 this year on that. But you know what? There's freaking losses. Oh, your whole fund tanked this year. It lost 30%. That's $300,000, and you just went down from $1 million this year to $700,000 in that account, which means next year's gains are against $700K.
Yeah.
Oh, man, so much, and that's fine because you'll win in every decade, but you might not win every year. But in business, you stop dealing with percentage and you start dealing with multiples. You start dealing with 2x, 5x, 10x. And even more in 1 year by dealing with something that's working. You have something that's generating revenue, and then you start to tweak it and cut your losses and increase your wins and double your sales and your revenue and triple it and quadruple it.
And I want to add this, and you learned this early on, shortly after moving out here, is that I think the way we're taught too is that to 2x your income, you need to 2x your effort. And that's not necessarily the case. To get from $1,000 a month to 2, you don't have to double your effort. It's just a tiny little tweak. And so it may be really hard to get that first $1,000 a month, but to double it, to triple it, you don't have to triple the input. It's little tweaks. You don't have to spend, if it took you 40 hours or whatever to build up to 1,000 a month, you don't have to double it to 80, because eventually, like, the math's going to work against you. You're going to run out of time. So how did Jeff Bezos build $1 billion company? He didn't do it with more hours. Maybe the more hours from employees, but it's ultimately finite. Everybody's got the same 24 hours. So
that's right.
you're
Yep.
able to do that with systems and softwares and stuff like that. So you definitely don't do it with time.
What Greg's hitting on is in tomorrow's notes that money is infinite and time is finite. And that is a huge piece of the puzzle in tomorrow's specific mindset video. Can't wait to talk more about that. But Greg, you've been hitting the bullseye with like an arrow and then putting another arrow right through that arrow into the bullseye. That's it, man. So even if math isn't your favorite subject in school, here's the truth. You want to spend your life building a business, not a career. And Greg, you made a note here. Yeah, like
just, on the last couple of weeks, I've been chatting with Brad Osborne. Some of y'all may be
Nomad Brad.
Yeah, Nomad Brad. He does Bing ads and stuff, and he says a lot of interesting things. And I've just been making notes and stuff. And this kind of what he said echoes what I paid Travis Sago like 5 figures a couple of years ago, and he said the same thing. With kind of like helping me craft my offer and positioning it is that kind of what I've found for myself and other people when they think of like being self-employed or working for themselves or making money online. I think the misconception is that they see this, internet freedom, laptop lifestyle freedom thing, and they think that they're escaping a job to do no work. And what you really need to kind of shift your mindset to think of this as is you're moving from one job to another job. It's a different kind of job. You're working for yourself now. You're not doing no work. It still requires effort. I mean, me and Tyler didn't just build all this passive income by like meditating or doing nothing or whatever, just imagining it. It takes effort. It's just a different kind of job.
That's right.
Even when Tyler first moved out here, but it has certain advantages. So even though Tyler, he's built his income up from scratch, the most important thing that he had when he came out here is he had his time. So even when it was, tough and he was working his way up, building his passive income snowball, whenever days did get a little bit stressful, he didn't have to ask for permission to go take his family to the park. He could just be like, I need to get outside today. And I think you can speak to that like, just having that freedom to be like, today I'm going to take the day off. We're going to take a break and then I'll hit it hard tomorrow. You can't do that at a job.
That's it. I haven't asked anyone for permission for 3.5 years. It's beautiful. I even forget about how amazing that is some days. I'm kind of used to it a little bit, but
like our friends that, they, make more than we have ever had at a job, but they're employed or maybe they're working from home. Like if we want to go out to lunch, many times I forget. It's like, oh, it's a Tuesday. They're working. Got to wait till like night or the weekends or something. Like I just don't think about it because me and Tyler can go have lunch whenever we want.
Yep. That's right. It's true. We do it all the time. It's amazing. Guys, we want to give you one resource because we don't want to overwhelm you. So we want to just give you the cream that rises all the way to the top. The one thing to scoop off the very, very top is a book called The Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. It will change your life. Read it 10 times instead of reading it and 9 other books one time each. Read it once a year. Read it twice a year. It will change your life. So guys, become a student of business this day forward. It will serve you well. Your future will be different because of it. So does this resonate with you guys? If it does, just let us know, man. Hit those comments. I love it. Absolutely love it. I'm trying to pop over and check them, but I'm a horrible multitasker. And so I'm just going to keep rolling. So at the core of everything that we're talking about today is one thing: mindset. Mindset is the key. Mindset is what we're talking about for the rest of today and all of tomorrow. These people live in a completely different world. Even though they live on planet Earth, they live in a completely different plane of existence. And we could talk about this. Honestly, we could go live every day. I'm just being real. Greg and I talked about this. He was like, we could talk about mindset for a year. And I was like, I know. We could just do this every day. We mentioned that we saw these successful people around us. We knew what we could see, but we didn't know what was underneath that was making it work. And so we sought out as many people as we could because we wanted the secret sauce. What do you have to do to have that life? And when we finally could talk with people who were succeeding and in their own business and weren't the employee but the entrepreneur, it was frustrating because they were all doing different things, but what they just wanted to talk about was the mindset that drove it all. And
Or
it's
like,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
like books they would refer us to. And I don't know about Tyler, but I
Yeah.
can speak for myself. I was looking for a secret because we're always, in our space, in the Make Money Online space, we're convinced there's a secret. There's something that you don't know. There's a secret strategy that they're not telling you. And it wasn't so much that the action steps that people were taking was so secret or cutting edge. It was, all the mindset stuff or the books they read to, condition their mind to think a certain way that led to those amazing results, screenshots and stuff that they were posting. So
That's right. And this is what we found out. The secret that we were seeking, the secret that we were looking for, it was not the secret that we got. What we wanted was not what we got. There wasn't a secret strategy. The real secret was just mindset. Here's the deal. Greg said this on one of the calls last week or the week before, and I loved it. The strategy is usually pretty simple. Well, like when you know that 1 + 1 = 2, it's not that hard to do it. The strategy is the icing on the cake. The mindset is the cake. The mindset is the thing that everything else has to go on. The mindset is the foundation that the rest of everything else is built on. Now, I was in ministry for 10 years, and most of you probably know this in this group, that I'm an ordained minister and all that stuff. I did music. I wasn't like a preacher and the pastor over the whole church. I did a lot of music, and I did some youth pastoring. I want to talk about actually something from the Bible, just a concept. The Bible, there's this powerful concept, this thing called repentance. Repentance, if your life's going one way and you want it to be different or you want it to be better, you got to repent. You got to turn your life around. And most people define repentance as basically pivoting and doing a 180 turn and go in the opposite direction. That is the result of repentance, but that is not the definition of repentance. This is the word repentance in the Greek, which is the language that the New Testament scriptures were written in. They were written after 0 AD, so in the last 2 millennia in Greek. The word repentance in Greek is metanoia. Metanoia. That's 2 words put together. Meta, the first part, means change, right? Metamorphosis, to change, to transform. Noia just means the way that you think, your thoughts. So change and thinking. In other words, change your thinking. Repentance means to change the way that you think, because inevitably, if you change the way that you think, you will change the way that you act. The lesson is this: if your mind doesn't change, your actions will not change. They can't change. Whatever your heart and your mind believe, that is ultimately the action that you're going to take every single time, in every single scenario, every single day. That's a powerful truth.
Yeah, does that make sense to everybody? Like, chime in, leave a comment or like or whatever, heart or whatever. If that makes sense, because it's cool to have 2 perspectives here. Tyler and I, even though we grew up in the same environment, we went kind of 2 directions for a couple of years, and then we kind of linked up again a couple of years later. So I've got a separate set of stories and experiences that Tyler has, and I think that's a really powerful example and kind of illustration there.
Yeah, it is. It is. So no matter what blueprint, strategy, or opportunity there is in front of you, you're always going to be swimming upstream against the current, and you're eventually going to tire out and quit if you're going against what's in here and what's in here. It's a little off camera, sorry. It all starts in your mind. And guys, I'm going to probably feel like I'm repeating myself for the next 5 minutes, but it's because I just can't say it enough. Everything in your life starts here. It doesn't start with what's happening around you. It doesn't start with what's happening in front of you. And it doesn't even start with what you're doing. It starts with what you're thinking and the way that you're thinking. It's the difference in why one person seems to be able to make everything that they try work, while someone else will try all of those same things and none of them will work. They'll complain and they'll criticize. They'll say it's no good. They'll say your process sucks. They'll say you're a crappy coach, and someone else is like, I don't know, he helped me make a lot of money. It worked for me. Again, it's all right here. That's the difference in those two individuals. It's their mindsets. And, we just have some pictures, analogies, examples of that. Greg, jump in on this.
Yeah, we got an example of like the gym. So if any of y'all, I'm sure half of y'all on the call probably go to the gym or have gone to the gym. If you ever have woken up on a cold winter morning or something and your bed's all warm and comfortable, and if you listen to your body, you're probably going to stay in bed because it's comfortable and you're sleepy, and maybe you also got to go to work today that same day. So you're going to go to the gym before work, and that's going to make you more tired or whatever. But if you listen to your mind, that's what prompts you to get out of bed. It's not your mind controls your body, not the other way around. If you listen to your body, well, you feel real comfortable and warm in your bed under your sheets. You want to stay there, just sleep, sleep through the gym, sleep, you'll get an extra 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. That's going to feel real good. And you may convince yourself that you need that because you worked hard yesterday, and you need a couple, you don't want to be tired at work or whatever. So just stay in bed and don't go to the gym today. But it's that, kind of plan, that thought inside of your head that just kind of moves your body to get up. And then, once you get up and get out of bed and actually walk through the front doors of the gym, that's not as painful and stuff, but just, it takes that mental, power to move your body and stuff.
That's right. Guys, why do two people start the gym on January 1st? One goes on to transform their life and one fades by March. Mindset. It's all here. I just added this. It's all in your head. Literally, all of it is in here. Why do two people start the same program? One builds income and the other has absolutely no success at all. Guys, I could keep going. I told you I'm going to feel like I'm repeating myself. But honestly, I want to hammer the nail until it's all the way in the wood. It's the most frustrating thing in the world when you're first getting started. It bothered us that when we had the opportunity to talk with successful people and they could give us these resources, they were just mindset. They just didn't tell you A, B, C, D, E $1 million. That's what we wanted.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. That's all I wanted because I had no clue. I had no idea that everything in here was what created $1 million. And then you can go find whatever A, B, C, D, E you want to. It'll work.
Yep.
And we're just speaking, guys, from over the last decade plus, and every year and every day, this makes more and more sense. If all of your life is a Carnival cruise liner, mindset is the rudder that's telling that thing where to go. I love cars, so here's another analogy, man. I love supercars. Specifically, I love Lamborghinis more than Ferraris, Astons, and McLarens and everything else. All that power in the engine, going through all those gears in the transmission to turn those tires that are 14 inches wide to put that power to the pavement. Your mindset is the steering wheel that's either going to have you hitting a wall really quickly or laying down lap times that Hondas only dream of. I'm a car guy, so I really love that. That hits me in the feels. And sorry if you're just like, what? It's all good. Your body will do what your mind tells it to, and not the other way around ever in any scenario ever. I love this. A weak person can beat a strong person if they have the right mindset. If a weak person ain't going to quit and the strong person's like, I'm not too invested in this, I'm out, the weak person's going to win Will Smith shared a story. Greg actually shared with me probably, gosh, I don't know how many years ago, that he said, I'll beat you with hard work. If we're on a treadmill, I'm either going to win or die, but I'm not going to quit. There's no way that I am going to give up. That's the stuff that makes successful people. And this is true. I love Jim Rohn, to bring it back into our niche a little bit.
Yeah, this was just to come some context. The first like business thingy that I sucked Tyler into, and this is when we were still back in Mississippi. We had it was I think 2009.
Something like that.
We had gone our separate ways and come back in the same year, and it was a network marketing kind of MLM or whatever. And one positive that came out of that was I got introduced to Jim Rohn, which is, if you don't know, is Tony Robbins' mentor. And we got introduced to this CD that we all listened to. And it was just about mindset. I think it was called like I don't know, I forget exactly what it was called. But you can find it on Amazon, like network marketing success or something like that, your first year network marketing or something like that. But now you can say the story or whatever. But there are a lot of lessons on that, and this is what Tyler was gonna say.
Yep, for sure. No, it's good. Jim Rohn, he says this, I may not be better. This was at sales. There was door-to-door sales back in the 70s-ish was his era for this. I'm not sure if it was 60s or 70s, but he just said, I may not be better at sales than you, but I'll knock on more doors than you until I sell more than you.
Right. So that's person, that's how you beat the guy that's the best or whatever. So the guy that's better at selling may have a closing ratio of like 7 out of 10. You may only have 3 out of 10, but you can surpass him in sales by knocking on more doors. So that's how you beat him.
More doors than him. If you'll knock on 5 times the doors of him, you'll make double the sales of him.
Which is if to tie this into kind of what I teach and what this program we put together. When you tie that into mass page sites, when you just have more hooks out there in the ocean of the internet, you're going to probably win. But if you don't win, you're going to get a lot of the pie or the result or whatever. Because if you're everywhere and someone else only has one website, or they're trying to rank for one keyword and you're trying to rank for the other 39,000, you're probably going to beat them.
I'm an ordinary guy. I've got a lot of sites that are making money. That's simple. I love this, Jim Rohn. What I lack in skill, I'll make up for in hard work. And I like what Greg said, effort, just effort. That's such a powerful word. And I say that I forget the difference between words like semantics or whatever it's called, between work and effort. Because a lot of newbies, they'll say like, well, is this a lot of hard work? I'm like, well, that's relative. Like something that's hard for you may not be hard for me or hard. Lifting a car is hard.
Yeah. And I did a lot of manual labor growing up before I came out here. And hoeing in the garden and picking peas in the hot Mississippi summer sun and stuff like that. That is work to me. What we do in the online world, to me, it's only hard when you don't know what to do. But when you know what to do, it's just effort. It's just follow this recipe, follow these steps, click these buttons. It's just effort. It's not the same. Hard only comes, you only think of something as hard usually when you don't know what to do or you don't know how to do it. But if you know what to do, it's not usually hard. It's usually a mental thing.
Yep. That's right, guys. That's right. Some of the GOATs, the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Ken Griffey Jr., when you read their stories are, they worked harder than anyone else. They didn't just step on the court and realize they could jump 28 feet and slam the ball. They worked their tails off. Effort. Was it hard? Playing basketball was still their passion, but they put in the effort to be the best. Ian Pribble, a friend of ours who's just so successful, and he's such an amazing guy. He just calls it having an iron will. It's just, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to stop. Persistence and consistency, man. There's 2 words that are at the core of everyone who's doing anything and any level of success. Guys, here's the truth. These are not fun, sexy things to talk about. Everything in today's world with marketing and advertising is just promising the world. And if you would just push this nice, pretty, shiny red button that looks cool, that's just not the truth. Now, you obviously blueprints that work are out there, but it's just the mindset that's going to get you there. And so oftentimes the most talented aren't the most successful. Why? It comes so easy to the most talented, they don't work as hard. But someone who has to work hard ultimately steals the crown. It's just that simple. And so I'm just kind of moving through. We're getting towards the end here. Our goal was to be under an hour. And so we're kind of moving towards the end here. But we have a friend here. He's sort of local. He's down in San Antonio. His name is Jeremy McGilvery. And yeah, Greg, you talk about Jeremy better. You're closer to him than I am too.
Yeah, so we don't talk that often, but he's incredibly accomplished guy. He's got books and softwares and sites and services and all this stuff. And he did it all in a very short amount of time. And multimillionaire guy, and somehow took a liking to me several years ago. So that's awesome. But he's happy that I'm his friend and stuff like that. But he's accomplished so much. And
yeah,
when we do talk, he's always working on like 20 projects at once. And he's not just working on them. He gets them done and stuff. So he's got all these softwares, and he's always working on like a software and a site and a new service and like writing a new book at the same time. And while he's getting all this stuff done, I'm like, wow, how do he makes the time to check in with me every couple months and stuff. And he always says pretty much the same thing. He's always just like, I'm always working. I'm always, working kind of 24 hours, just working. That's how he achieves so much. We just see the end result and we're like, what? We want to believe that it's like, because they are so successful and they have all this money, that their life must be simple and easy. No, he's actually still doing what it took to get him where he's at. He just still puts in the time. He's not ready to, quit yet or whatever. He's just always working.
Yeah.
And, that's how he's so able to produce all the things he's able to create and crank out these new products. Because he's always actively working. He never just coasts and takes like, he rests every once in a while, but like he doesn't take like month-long vacations and stuff like that. He just always works.
Yep. And Greg said this. He's like, hey, if you'll put in more work, you'll get there faster. And we joked about how that may not be sustainable, but it works. And now here's the cool thing. We're talking about Jeremy. Greg and I don't even live on that level. We've got a lot of passive income. We really stick to the blueprint that we do and teach in SEOAD, and that's really what we're doing. But regardless, whatever your takeaway from this, and just wherever you're at, if you're in a tight spot, hard work will get you there faster. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and just to tie that into kind of like some history about me, I had that same epiphany when I went to my second live event. I just was talking to Dan Brock, the Deadbeat Super Affiliate, and Jeff Linney, who I knew of at the time, but that's the first time I met him. And I've just kind of sized him up in a couple minutes and realized that this was 2016. I knew way more than they did, but they were making more money than me, and probably both of them still are. And what I discovered was they had, even though they didn't know as much as me, they had way simpler processes. They were taking more action. They weren't letting the lack of whatever they knew stop them and hold them back and fear and stuff. They were taking action, lots of action on the things that they did know. So what I did when I came back to Austin after that live event was I was like, it just kind of helped me a little bit, because I thought I just telling myself I need to be smarter. I need to know a little bit more. I need one more secret. And I was like, I was already making a little bit of money. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to know what I think I need to know. I'm already making some money and getting some results. I just need to work harder and produce more money with what I do know. And I'm sure along the way, I'll find faster and simpler ways to accomplish, making money. But in the short term, until I figure out the secret that I'm, seeking, I can earn my way to the income I'm trying to achieve just through effort. Like I can just double down on what is already producing income to get twice as much of that. It's very simple.
That's it, guys. That's it. Determination, consistency, persistence, guys. That's the unsexy sell behind virtually everyone who is successful. And so that was that this is kind of mindset part 1 of 2. I want to ask you this, guys. If you have any personal stories, or if you have any illustrations, analogies, metaphors, or quotes that you're kind of thinking of right now, drop them in the comments, because we would love to read them ourselves, as well as whoever's tuning into this, just to see them, because there's so much value in all of this. This is life-changing, overhauling stuff. This is what rips out the 4-cylinder and puts a V12 in you to get you where you need to be. It's that mindset to get you there. And so let us know your biggest takeaway in the comments as well. If there was just something that you enjoyed, like let us know. Guys, it's this simple. Your mind's got to change for your actions to change. Here's another way of saying it. You have to think differently to do differently, because your hands are only going to do what your brain is saying. That's it. Whatever your mind thinks is ultimately what you're going to do. Your body and your actions will always follow your mind. It'll never be the other way around. The mindset has to be there. And so that's why tomorrow we're going to continue talking about mindset. And more specifically, tomorrow is about a success and abundance mindset. And I cannot wait to talk about it. I had to not say a whole bunch of stuff that's in there for tomorrow that I'm just ready to share right now. Guys, this stuff has just transformed our lives. Here we are, 3-4 years removed from jobs, doing this stuff, loving it. You guys saw my 5-year-old come in a few minutes ago. I'm home every day. My wife is here. My 5-year-old is here. My 5-month-old is here. I see my kids every single morning. I even took this picture this morning. This was about 8:13 this morning. Every morning, I'm here, I'm with my boys, and then I come up here and I get to work. This stuff has changed my life and has helped me have a lifestyle that I want to have. I mean, how many people would kill to just be with their family every single day and not just feeling like you only see your kids on the weekend for the most part? And so I'm not going to go down that hole, but this stuff is at the core of everything that I've ever wanted. And Greg, if there's anything else that you want to say right now, say it. And man, wow.
No, that's pretty amazing, man. Yeah, this is all good stuff. And we're excited to just continue sharing, continue this conversation tomorrow. And then we've got some awesome things to share on the other days of this week as well. So thanks everyone for showing up.
Yes, thank you.
Time out of your day to show up live. There's a bunch of y'all that showed up, and of course there will be a replay, so you can watch the recording as well if you want to hit the replay and see all the listen to this all again and stuff. Some of these analogies and illustrations and stories that Tyler mentioned. I really like the Metanoia, the illustration and stuff.
Yep, powerful stuff, man. Well, guys, we're not going to drag it out. You guys know how this works. Liking and loving this video helps, and comments help, and just we really genuinely want to hear anything, whether something impacted you or whether you have something to add or share. So do that. We're going to kind of be in the comments today too, and we look forward to 11 o'clock tomorrow, going live and talking about a success and abundance mindset. It's going to be awesome.
Cool.
Well, we're signing off.